Today is the one-year anniversary of President Biden pulling his name out of the 2024 presidential race, and his son, Hunter, is doing a little bit of reflecting. He just sat down for an interview with YouTuber Andrew Callahan, and Hunter got candid about George Clooney's op-ed calling for his father to exit the race. Watch this.
I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. You. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president at a time in which, by the way, what do people care about the most? Why do you think that the Republicans have an advantage over us? Because they're unified. They will go along with anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go along with anything. I was asking people to go along with this. The most successful administration in my lifetime.
The most successful administration in my lifetime.
What is the point of Hunter Biden's media tour?
I haven't the slightest idea, Kennedy. I think that the fact that 3 Washington journalists just wrote a tell-all book that basically blames Joe Biden's loss on his son, Hunter, and laid out examples of why that is. Maybe now he wants to go out there and defend it. But that is an obscure interview making crazy claims attacking George Clooney. He's apparently in this interview on the wrong side of the immigration issue, which, by the way, is the issue more than others that tanked his father's presidency.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Griff. Let's take a little gander at Hunter Biden's hot take on immigration. Watch.
People are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? I would pick up the phone and call the president of El Salvador and say, you either send them back or I'm going to invade. It's a crime what they're doing. He's a dictator.
Oh, Cheryl, this is beyond parody. And supposedly he was acting as his dad's chief of staff with that potty mouth.
So this apparently is a 3-hour sit-down interview, and it's on YouTube, to be clear. Something else, another direct quote from Hunter. I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, meaning his dad, basically at the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. He's 81. He's tired as blank. They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage. He looks like a deer in the headlights. So it's basically the White House doctor and Ambien's fault that was Joe Biden on the debate stage last year. The things he's saying in this interview more details are coming out right now. I mean, and it's incredible.
Basically, he's justifying the reporting. The presidency is exhausting. A lot is asked of you as president. Yeah. You do have to fly around the world. You do have to be ready in the middle of the night. And, sure, sometimes it's hard sleeping, but if that's the case and you can't perform in your most important campaign duty, are you really ready for 4 more years of the job?
Well, that's what people who look like they're not sober will do. They'll harm the people that they love. And this hurts his dad. This makes it look like everything that was ever true about his dad's lack of fitness for office can be proven by him and his recollection and his, offensive spewing rant that he went on for, you said, the better part of 3 hours. But the greater problem with this is what you asked. Why now? We saw Joe Biden a couple of weeks ago come out, look, all the books and all of that. But what harms them are just look at Joe Biden now and look at his son. Should either one of them been in any kind of a White House meeting? And I still argue, and yeah, it's kind of a joke, but I bet I might be right about this. I think we'd get answers if Hunter Biden led the who brought the Coke into the White House investigation. Like, he looks like a hot mess there. It's sad. It's really sad. But he makes the point, my dad wasn't ready. My dad couldn't do the job. He was too exhausted.
He was tired.
He was hyped up on this or hyped up on that. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. He looked like a cornered rabid animal.
Well, worse than that, he's sitting here asking, why are people upset about illegal immigration? Like, basically telling us to tone it down with a string of explicatives. Excuse me. But the problem that I have is I would like to ask you, Hunter Biden, who killed that Laken Riley, who killed Jocelyn Ungary, who shot the CBP officer in New York. You don't even address that. That's the problem that Americans have with illegal immigration, is that we've got violent criminals here that are hurting Americans, and he failed to acknowledge that. It's not about hotel workers and restaurant workers. It's about the violent criminals, and that's who this administration is going after.
Not in Hunter's world, which is it's a freaky-deaky upside-down world. And we have more Outnumbered in just a moment. Stay with us.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.